Hey guys, welcome to Beware the Awakening, 这个 Con Command featuring our Terra Vespiquen EX from our SIT in Flames with the Phantom Queen attack, doing 200 damage for 3 grass, putting 3 damage counters on each of opponent's bench Pokemon that already has damage counters on them. We're playing this card with our Skiploom from PAL the Evolve with a Drifting Dodge ability, preventing all damage done to this Pokemon if you flip a heads, when any damage is done to this Pokemon by attacks. It also has the Flurry Zephyr attack, doing 30 damage to their active for only 1 grass, plus a 30 damage snipe on one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. We also have Hawlucha's Flying Entry and Alakazam's Painful Spoon for the extra spread, helping us set up for Phantom Queen to target as many of our opponent's bench Pokemon as possible. For the energy acceleration, we're playing 3 Gardenia's Vigor with 2 Earthen Vessel and 1 Retrieval. To collect extra prizes with the damage spread, we've got 1 TM Devolution. And for the last minute knockout, we've got 1 Shaymin V to do Revenge Blast and 1 Pinsir from 151 to do Reckless Throw for 180 damage for 2 grass and 1 colorless if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. Finally, we've got 1 Peonia to get the TM or any evolution stuck in the prize, 1 Super Rod to shove back our Pokemon energies, and 1 boss for a power play. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game with Con Command. We got Skiploom with Vespiquen, rocking out a spread deck. Spreading like disease. We have the new Winter Deerling deck sleeve, featuring our grass type, our grass theme box with Shaymin, Skiploom, and the Queen, and the Terra, the Ghost Terra EX. Is it Ghost or Psychic? Do you guys think it's Ghost or Psychic? Because we actually have the Ghost Gengar coin and the Pumpkaboo deck box, so I'm assuming it's a Ghost Terra. Not really too sure though. I think it shows on the full art whether it's a Ghost or Psychic. Pretty sure it's a Ghost, I think, because it has like the candelabra or something. I don't know, I'm not too sure about Terras. Anyways, we're up against a Miraidon now. Quite a heavy meta build at that. They got Iron Hands with Flaffy and Zapdos for the extra damage, the 10 plus damage boost. Okay, we're gonna play Ultra Ball here for another Bidoof, just in case they knock out the first one, because it's kind of infamous for lightning boxes to do a first turn knockout going second, because they got the generator and beach court, right? Beach court or switches. So we got Bibarel and Iono in our hand, which is the best draw support early game. Bibarel. Crazy draw support, eh? I wonder what's gonna happen when this card gets rotated. I remember there was one point in Sword and Shield where we don't have Bibarel. We had Chinchino, but can you imagine without Bibarel? Bibarel is the same as Sun and Moon's Silvally. There was a Silvally GX with the same ability, allowing you to draw cards until you have 5 in your hand, but it's a GX though. It is a GX. Bibarel is a 1 price card. Can you believe that? Anyways, it's a pretty old card, so I don't think we should marvel at that for too long. We got Iono now. I'm gonna play it. We actually had the Gardenia with a Vessel though, so maybe we should have just attach 2 energies on the Combee with the Vessel, but we are forced to discard something from our hand. If we discard the other Combee, we're gonna have to rod back, rod it back to be able to play the second Vespiquen, or even if they play a boss on the Combee, expecting us to evolve into an EX, they may just play a boss on the Combee and basically force us to play the rod, right? So I'm not sure what we should be discarding with the Vessel. Maybe the Iono because we got Bibarel already, but then is double draw enough? Because we're only drawing 2 cards with Gardenia, and then we got no Skwovet to help us on the next turn. So discarding the Iono could actually be really bad. We didn't get the Skiploom, not even with Iono, drawing so many cards with Bibarel and Iono, so we got a little bit unlucky, I suppose. But this is our first game though, the very first build of the Vespiquen EX with Skiploom combo. So we're still trying to work up the the ratio. How many items should we have? How many balls should we be playing? How many aromas? you know, the number of copies is not ideal for this game. Eventually, we have the right amount of item cards for us to evolve fast, for us to play our snipe on the second turn with Skiploom already, and then activate the splashing dodge ability, forcing our opponent to get past, you know, to flip the coin just to knock it out or do a boss. Obviously, you are flipping the coin though. If Skiploom takes any damage from your opponent's attacks, you get to flip the coin, and if it's a heads, you get to prevent all damage done to a Skiploom. So it's the same as Ambipom, Pogo's Ambipom ability, which is pretty cool. Dodging all damage done to your one prize card, allowing you to snipe more times on the next turn, which is super fun. Snipety snipe and then de-evolve with that one TM that we have. We have Peonia now to get a TM if we get stuck in the price. Playing 2 TM is kind of a bad idea just because there are a lot of decks now that play like basic V, basic EXs, you know, Roaring Moon especially, and Chin PAL. Not many evolutions on the bench, not many one price supports. So we can't really hope to get enough knockouts with the Devolution because we are wasting one turn though. We are wasting one turn just to devolve all of their Pokemons. So if they don't play stage 1 or stage 2 EXs, there's no point using that attack at all, using the TM, and then it becomes useless for the entire game. So that's why we only need one copy. One copy means we need Peonia, right? So Peonia actually fits in really well for this list, since we are only playing 2 copies of Vespiquen as well. So if we have it priced and if we don't get the rod, then we actually get to play Peonia to dig it from the price. That's the advantage of that one supporter. Obviously, if you play that supporter card, you can't do Gardenia, you can't play Colress, you can't play Iono. There are setbacks, but I feel like we should be fine because we got Bibarel. We just need to spend one turn getting cards from the price, and then after that, we should be fine, right? If we have to waste turns to play the Peonia, we obviously get to wall with our Skiploom. Since it has the splashing dodge ability, we get to dodge and then, you know, play the Gardenia on the next turn, retreat, and then do our Phantom Queen. Oh yeah, that attack is so cool, isn't it? Spreading so much damage counters on the bench. We do need the Hawlucha though, and also our Skiploom. I forgot the attack. I don't know what the attack is called. But it actually allows you to hit 30 damage on one of their bench Pokemon, including their active. So it's a very fun snipe with Alakazam. If you play Alakazam, you got like 3 Pokemons with damage counters in your opponent's field, and that means one Hawlucha is going to give you 4. It allows you to target 4 Pokemons on your opponent's bench with the Phantom Queen for the extra 3 damage counter placement. So that's a lot. We don't need to target too many though, but we do have to be sure to target the right ones. So for this game, we should really be targeting the Zapdos, because we have Iron Jugulis. We don't actually have Pinsir. We have Jugulis instead. Eventually, I decided to add Pinsir into the list and swap it out for the Jugulis just because 50 damage isn't really enough. But if we want to play Jugulis, we should have done the snipe early on the Zapdos, because that allows us the extra 2 price knockout by taking out the Flaffy and the Zapdos, and that means we just need one Shaymin at the end of the game to finish off, you know, the Iron Hands or the Raichu or Raikou, any V cards that they have. We can play our Revenge Blast to take out the last 2 prize. Phantom Queen against Raikou or Raichu gives us the 3rd and 4th prize, so that gives us the win right there. Because we actually had to draw the last prize by taking out another EX, which is kind of lame. It would have been way smarter if we just target the Zapdos from the very beginning. But oh well, we are learning. We're growing from experience. This is our first game after all with the Vespiquen build, as I said. So baby steps, I guess. Are we going to play the Hawlucha? I feel like we need to bench something else. Or maybe we should be doing the flying entry. I don't know. We may need the Jugulis or Alakazam. Pinsir is a lot better, in my opinion. Sometimes, you know, against a non-darkness box, I feel like, you know, 𝓟𝓪𝓻𝓪𝓭𝓸𝔁 would do a lot more damage, because if you're not careful with Pinsir, you might end up just doing 90 damage. Because you obviously need the price counter for it to do that extra 90. If you have more price cards remaining, you get to do 180 damage for 2 grass and 1 colorless, reckless throw. If you have the same number of price or less price cards remaining, if you're ahead in the game or at the same level as your opponent, then you're not allowed to do the extra damage. So then it's basically 180 against a Roaring Moon or Charizard, which is not quite enough. If you play Alakazam at the wrong time, I actually ended up doing that on a single game at one of the games that I played with this deck and missed the knockout with my Pinsir. I should have played Painful Spoon on the next turn, but I ended up doing Painful Spoon to do a knockout on the bench by moving the damage counters on like a V-Star or something, and then got extra prizes, and that actually reverses the counter, and now we got no more extra damage. So make sure you're aware that Pinsir only does 90 more if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. Make sure to play your Alakazam at the last minute. Do not take the knockouts early, right? We have to make sure to take knockouts as late as possible. That's the thing about Pinsir. That's the thing about reversal and counter decks, right? You have to be smart. Even with counter catcher, you gotta play the game in a specific way, not like you normally do with your meta decks, with your KO decks. You gotta be a little bit more strategic than usual. That's what I'm saying. Counter decks are not easy to play. That's why normally people play Cross Switcher and bosses now. Counter catcher is not really a popular card even in the meta. I don't think you see that a lot anymore. Now that the hype for Paradox Rift is over, I feel like, you know, counter catcher doesn't really fit in a lot of decks, honestly. Meta versus meta though, I guess if you play it a certain way, it could come in handy, but not always. Sometimes it's kind of like the Devolution TM. In some games, against certain matchups, you just don't get to play it at all. But anyways, back to the game. So now they got Raikou in the active. They actually did Nest Ball on this turn. Look at that. They did Nest Ball for Raichu and missed the knockout on the Vespiquen. They could have done Flaffy and then attach the energy from their hand on the Raichu, retreat, and do the Dynamic Spark for the knockout on the Vespiquen. And then they got 2 prize. And then we have to play our Skiploom. We basically have to play Skiploom and set up the next Vespiquen, or probably use the Jugulis and Shaymin to collect the last few prizes. I don't know. I'm not sure if Jugulis is gonna help. We do have the Painful Spoon's Alakazam though, to basically transfer onto the Zapdos and the Flaffy, so maybe we should be playing it after all. Or just another Vespiquen, right? If we snipe again, they may not be able to do the knockout on the second one, just because they need a lot more energies. They need to discard 5, right? Another 5 to take out the second Vespiquen. So even if they do Dynamic Spark right now, I feel like we have the counter. I feel like we have the potential to still take on and win this game. But if they do the knockout this turn, they may not have enough energies on the next to attack. They do have Flaffy though, and supporter cards with generators, so I'm not too sure. Maybe the generator is not going to work anymore because they just discarded so many energies. I feel like maybe they're trying to save up for Iron Hands to do the extra knockout to get the extra prize, my bad. Because if they play Raikou this turn, they can play MU very much on the next to get the extra prize. And then after that, they just need one more hit with the Iron Hands to get the last 2 prize to win the game. So all they need is 3 turns, right? So after hitting with Lightning Rondo this turn, they just need 2 more hits with the Iron Hands to finish off the game. But we got Shaymin. I don't think they get to do that. It's a lock. If we don't have Shaymin, then they can quite easily win with the Iron Hands. Even then, they still need the Escape Rope or Boss, because we got Splashing Dodge to potentially avoid the knockout on the Skiploom. But it's quite easily countered with just a simple Escape Rope, right? Pretty sure a lot of decks run Escape Rope now, because people are starting to realize the power of that simple item card. Escape Rope against decks like, decks that play Mimikyu, 1 or 2 copies of Mimikyu, Alakazam with Klefki, those decks that play really annoying abilities that work only in the active spot. Escape Rope against Tinglu EX as well. If they don't have a second copy on the bench, it actually shuts down their ability. So here comes the 3-price knockout with MU very much. And they didn't play an Iono because we got Gardenia in our hand. We're safe. Even if they do, we got 2 Bibarels. We got pretty lucky for this game because we only are playing 2 copies. Having 2 Bibarel with a Skwovet in play is just like, it's heaven, isn't it? Especially when they don't run any Avery. If they play Avery though, then we're forced to discard the other copy, I guess. But can't be helped. Some decks are just weak towards Avery. If we play Hawlucha, if we have Hawlucha on our bench, Avery is actually going to help us free up the bench for our next Vespiquen. So there you have it. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. Most times it's a bad thing though, because we need Alakazam. If we have Alakazam with the Bibarel Skwovet in play, then we most likely have another attacker, like a Combee or a Skiploom on the bench that we have to discard, which isn't ideal. If we discard the Skwovet or Alakazam along with the Hawlucha, we're going to have to rot them back just to keep our system going by using their abilities again. We do have to re-bench them at the same time. So I guess the best counter for that is to not bench unnecessarily too many Pokemons until you need to use them, right? Especially Alakazam. That's like the main thing that I learned from playing this deck a lot of times, is that I always bench it way too early. Only bench your Alakazam when you have to use your painful spoons. If you don't need to use the ability, don't bench it at all, because at least you use it once before having to discard it. If they play Avery, if you play it without using the ability and then discard it on your opponent's next turn when they play the Avery, then it would be a complete waste. You can never really control when it shows up though, but I feel like we have enough balls to get it at the right time. So even if you have it in your hand, sometimes it's the best move just to put it at the bottom with your Iono, with your Skwovet, and draw new cards, and then wait until when you need to use it to bench your Alakazam. If you don't get to bench it on the next turn, then it's fine, do it later, and then use your Hawlucha. We still have Level Ball, we still have Hawlucha's flying entry. It makes more sense to bench it only when we need to. And that goes without saying for all the 1-price deck that you play. Make sure to keep your bench to a minimum and expect them to play Avery almost every single turn, especially meta decks like Charizard EX or Roaring Moon. Even Gardevoir plays Avery now just because it's the best counter against 1-price decks. It forces them to discard at least 2 of their bench supports, and then they have to re-evolve another Bibarel or like Cherrim, whatever that they need to basically keep their system going. So it's a very, very heavy disruption, to be honest. It slows down the enemy and forces them to shuffle those cards back and re-summon them, re-evolve another Cherrim, whatever that they need to survive the game, which makes it such a huge leg up for meta EX decks. That one supporter is gonna crush the enemy to bits. If they are not careful. If they keep the bench small and, use their abilities at the right time, make sure to avoid benching the wrong Pokemons, then it should be fine. If they don't rely so much on Pokemon support abilities, if they have Rescue Carrier or Clara or even cards like Pelipper, Baynet that they get to discard from their bench, helping them free up the bench spot for them to use the ability a second time because they get to basically evolve a second Pelipper, then again, you're helping them with your Avery. So it really depends on the matchup, I guess. What type of support your opponent is playing, you can't really be sure. But anyways, I digress. Now we're up against a Gholdengo EX. We do have a Charizard matchup later, but now let's focus on this Gholdengo game. They got Scizor as well, is a very, very meta list. Hyper meta. Doing mad damage with Make It Rain, 50x for each energy discarded from their hand. So they can quite easily take out our Vespiquen with one hit. No problem with that. and also Shaymin if you play it at the wrong time. So make sure to use Revenge Blast for your last knockout, right? To win the game. If you don't play Shaymin to win the game, then don't play it at all. Because it's not going to do enough damage, right? Unless if you're smart enough to basically worm your way around getting the last few prize after playing Revenge Blast at the right Pokemon. So probably play a boss if you want to play it early. Do a boss against the Mew EX on the bench, and then play Revenge Blast, doing 180 if your opponent has taken 3 prizes. You get a 2 prize knockout by finishing off a Lumineon or Mew EX on the bench with the boss. And then after that, you can think about using your Pinsir with Gardenia, or even Flowery Zephyr with Skiploom and the TM Devolution to collect the last few prizes. So there is always a way, obviously. It's not a dead set strategy that we have built in for this deck. You can always play in your own way to win games, but I feel like the best move to make is to play Shaymin at the last minute. Because if you play it at the last minute, you get more damage and you get to collect a lot of prizes as your last knockout to win the game, right? That's the MVP for a grass deck. The last minute Revenge Blast. Delicious, especially when we have accumulated enough damage counters on them. They may not be expecting the surprise hit from Shaymin if we bench it at the last minute, and that means they may be, putting forth an attacker that already has 4 or 8 damage counters on them with our Alakazam, Phantom Queen. We may have enough damage counters on their active for us to finish them off with only 220 damage or 260 damage with our Revenge Blast. So anyways, I think I'm just gonna end the voice right here because focus on the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Today featuring our Terra Vespiquen EX with the Phantom Queen attack, doing 200 damage on their active, plus 3 more damage counters on each of our opponent's bench Pokemon that already has damage counters on them. We get to spread with our Flowery Zephyr, Skiploom, the new Skiploom from PAL the Evolve that has the Splashing Dodge ability, preventing all damage done to it if you flip a heads each time it receives damage from an attack. We also have our Gardenia's Vigor with 𝓟𝓻𝓻𝓪𝓭𝓸𝔁 for the energy acceleration, Bibarel for the draw support, and 1 TM Devolution to take out any EX evolutions with baby supports on the bench for a multi-price knockout. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye from me, people. Enjoy life.